Hi guys, it's me KSL of KSL Tech Studios back again, and today we are going to be building yet another PC. Yes, however, not for myself this time. This is for a kind family member who, well, they came to me with a dilemma. See, their iMac, or my old iMac, was approaching or already over the 8-year mark at this point, and, well, at that point any computer really does start to show its age. And that computer is pretty much running on its original specs. So I thought, they might need something a little bit better. So here it is, the parts for our new PC build. This is really meant to be kind of a basic office PC. There's not a graphics card or anything in this. Nothing particularly special either. It's just kind of a basic PC to get these people going. Also, we will be attempting to install macOS on this. Just A, for interest, B, they already have an iMac, so it might be better for them to kind of ease that transition a little bit more. So we'll explore this all together. So for now, we're just going to go over the parts. So right up here, we have a Antec 500 watt GreenWatts power supply. You might remember this from my previous budget Hackintosh build. It served me well. Didn't need to buy a power supply for this build. It's all free and provided, I guess. So I said, what the heck, I'll put it into this build. Should be plenty of power. We're not having a graphics card in this, as I said, so might as well. Next, this is the case. Yes, yet another Thermaltake case again. I've had good luck with Thermaltake in the past, of course, with the Corsair Versa, with the Versa H15. Why did I say Corsair? I don't know. With the Versa H15, which was what I built my other Hackintosh into, and it was a pretty decent case for the price, and this was also one of the cheapest mini-ITX cases I could find, so I did. And as you can see with this ripped up old label here, it is the Snow Edition, i.e. the white one. Yes, we paid a premium for it to be in white. I guess it looks a little bit cleaner, but we'll see when we get it out of the box, because I haven't opened it up either. This is the base of our computer, the motherboard. I chose the B360N Wi-Fi, mostly because it was one of the cheapest mini-ITX boards I could find at the moment. They've been kind of off and on. Some of the more basic ones, yes, they're really cheap, like around the $100 mark, but they weren't available, so, and everything else I just didn't really like. This seemed to be the perfect mix of functionality and price, also size, because we wanted a mini-ITX build, so that's what we're doing. It does come with the built-in Wi-Fi, which I believe is Intel Wi-Fi, so we won't be able to use that. Of course, the heart of our system right in the middle, Core i3-8100. Again, there are other systems at Core i3, but a first generation Core i3, it's very old. This one is quad-core, which should be more than enough for them. They really don't do much with their computer other than web browsing, email, spreadsheets, Word documents, really nothing all that much. So Core i3 with the built-in integrated graphics should get them going just fine. This is our RAM, and what many people will think is a controversial decision, which I do understand. I'm only using one stick of 8GB DDR4 2400. The reasoning for this is this motherboard only has 2 RAM slots, so if we wanted to upgrade in the future, perhaps to 16GB if the need arises, it would be much cheaper to do so, particularly the way RAM prices right now are kind of out to lunch and may continue to do so in the future. So I guess just for future proofing, having one slot free, it would just kind of be a little bit cheaper going forward. I know people say, oh, but you can't use dual channel. Yeah, I understand, but for their uses, dual channel really isn't that big of a deal, so why not? This is the main boot drive, a Crucial MX200 250GB. This was the old SSD that I had in my ThinkPad when I subsequently replaced it with an SK Hynix 500 gigabyte. So this has been sitting around ever since, not really having a place to be. I could have used it in my Hackintosh, but I said, why? So I'm just having it here in this build instead. So this is for booting up the OS and storing all the programs. And this, if you watched my last video, you might recognize as the hard drive that we pulled out of the Time Machine. And this is going to be the main storage drive, mostly because it's 1 terabyte and it's free and it's provided for. And part of this build was just trying to minimize the amount of money spent into it. So really we just kind of bought the bare essentials, and everything else I tried to add on. So that's kind of about it for all the parts. Guess I'm going to clear all this stuff off the table and we're going to unbox the case, probably on the floor where there's more space. Alright guys, so here's a case. I haven't opened it either. I don't know what's in it, so let's dig in, I guess. Okay, accidental face reveal. Oh, there it is. It's peeking out at me. Interesting. Okay. Of the box, out of its wrapping. Here it is, all in its beautiful white glory. So I'm going to set this down on the table, and I'll get back to you guys. Hi guys, I thought we'd just take a look at the case here a little bit more. So this is it, Thermaltake Core V1. This is with the side panels and the upper panel removed, just for the sake of you being able to see in more clearly. But as you can tell, it is the white version, the snow edition as they call it. So we have our standard ribbon cable for all the internal lights and buttons here. So that's good. Over here we have a very thick USB 3.0 cable, which we will definitely be utilizing. And this is for our audio, for front panel audio, which we'll be using as well. And this is for the incredibly large fan in this case. Can you guys just believe that? I'm going to hazard a guess this is about a 200 millimeter fan, sorry. That does come included with the case. This is an intake fan. To be honest, I think this is more than enough, but if we require more ventilation, I will buy a set of 2 80mm fans, which do go in the back here, and install those as well. That is not a problem, but I think that this large intake fan, which I hope spins very slowly, because having one of these go full blast is probably not the best, will be plenty fine to ventilate the case. Just both via natural convection current and a little bit of air assistance. So, over here there are 2 3.5-inch hard drive cages. These both do also support 2.5-inch SSD drives with these extra screws here. That's totally fine. Over here, notice there's no standoffs. There's 4 standard, I guess, standoffs built into the case. So yeah, just keep that in mind. I think this should work just fine for most, if not every single mini-ITX board there is out there in the market today, but that should be duly noted. Over here, again, the 2 80mm fan placement areas and the I/O shield, as well as a double width PCIe card slot. Down here we have the power supply. This is where you would put the power supply as well. And as you can see through the hole here, this is the optional air filter, which can be cleaned. Very useful for most all modern power supplies that have a bottom intake. Very good, but we won't be really using that feature. Over here, same as before, just this empty space, this whole dual tier design I really like. Over here, this is our so-called front panel connectors. We have the power button, power light, hard drive light, 2 USB 3.0, microphone and headphone jack, and a reset switch. no problem there. Finally, to the front. The front looks a lot like my Versa H15, however, it does not have any optical drive slots, which is very nice because it helps to maximize the case interior volume a little bit, and seems to work a little bit better. However, this is the exact same kind of meshy material as my Versa H15. It has this like metal covering, and on the inside is the mesh filter, which should be perfectly fine for catching the dust. And I'm not 100, no, yeah. You can remove this front panel to suck out the dust with a vacuum. But since this is a white case, I really don't think it'll look as noticeable as it did on the black case. Because the black case, you saw the front panel, and when it was dusty, it kind of got gray. So I think this will hide dirt a lot better, considering it'll just be sat up on a shelf where it will be used. So I think that's enough rambling about the case. Let's actually start with the build first. The first thing they say to do is to put the power supply in, so I think that's what we'll do. Oh my, you guys are up very high now. So here I am. I decided to use a different camera angle so you can see my entire workspace. Isn't that just wonderful? When I'm working on this computer, and since this computer is so small, I can literally just put it up on my desk and I don't have to move it ever again, which is nice, unlike the Versa build, which I had to move out of the way quite a few times. So now we shall attempt to put the power supply in. I was going to put it in this way, but it doesn't seem like it will work. So I think I'll need to heed Thermaltake's advice and take off the bottom panel. So there it is, the power supply, and the bottom pan is installed. Alrighty, so here's the next part of the build, which will be focusing on the motherboard part of the build. Not necessarily the case part yet. So here's the motherboard. I'm going to take it out of its box. It's first in the bag, anti-static wrapper bag. Let's just take a look at what's in the box here. Obviously, I have the I/O shield. That's very important. Now, this is a newer style I/O shield because, you know, back in the day with some of the older ones, like with my Intel motherboard, it had the little tabs that stuck out of it. This one's just a kind of a metallic foam pad, which I think is kind of cool. So that's definitely an improvement over the old system. This is the Wi-Fi antenna, which I think is also pretty nice, but we probably won't be using this, but I still really like it, and it comes with it's extended away from the PC, so it doesn't pick up radio interference from here, from the back of the case, and it comes with a little stand. So that's also very nice, however, won't be using that. Finally, we have two serial ATA cables, which I will be using for this build because I have a shortage of them and I need more, hence why I'm using these. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's in the box for the motherboard here. Okay, I'm gonna put this cardboard thingy back in. Okay. Put it in wrong, but that will be good. So finally, since it's in an anti-static bag, I'm not really all that concerned about taking it out. This thing like smells. legit smells. That's so interesting. Okay. Professionally put it on. There. Very nice. Here's our motherboard. I go over it a little bit. Chipset in there, 2 RAM slots, DDR4 of course, 4 serial ATA connectors, power supply, USB 3.0, LED controller, PCI Express, audio, Wi-Fi, various other ports on the back here. It's not particularly interesting. 3 fan headers, socket, which we will be putting the CPU in shortly, and yeah. 4-pin power over there. No big deal. Pretty nice little board, I think. So, we will be just taking a look and taking a look at our CPU here, I think. That's what we need to do next. Seal on the CPU box. Just take this. It's very nice, very nice. How this comes out, so just very nice. So in the box we have our Intel Core i3 logo, which I think is so cool. I'll be keeping that. I won't be putting it on this system. It'll just be a waste. So here's the CPU itself. It's kept in this little cardboard holder. CPU itself, we'll put that to the side. And here's the fan. I'm not sure if it's covered in plastic at the bottom or not, so just take a look at that. Nope, no plastic, it's just exposed. Oh, isn't that great? Well, I won't show you the fan yet. Yeah, the thermal paste on it is exposed, and I won't be applying my own thermal paste. I'll just be using the pre-applied because, well, I honestly haven't had too bad a luck with it. So here is our socket. LJ1151. Moving the load plate very carefully, very carefully. This is the processor itself. And what we have to do is we have to line up the gold corner with the gold corner on the CPU with the gold corner that's on the motherboard. Okay. Okay, it's aligned, it's in. Very nice. Now we push this down until it comes off, apparently. Seems to have snapped in, which is good. The I/O shield is in. So now, since there's no like pads or anything, or little tabs, and this is a really tiny little board, we can simply put it in here. Alright, I'm back after doing some cable management, so now we're going to install the SSD and the hard drives. Alrighty guys, so I do have a blinking battery symbol, but I'll just take you around the build real quick. So here's our hard drive, SSD, CPU's under the fan, the RAM, big fan over here, obviously all the connectors. I did do some decent work at cable managing it best I could, so that's something. And back here, obviously we have the motherboard and the power supply, so that's very nice as well. And then over here, I just kind of kept the rest of the loom in there. And I did kind of tuck some of the wires up in the front panel as well, just to keep them out of the way. So I think this turned out pretty good. Now we'll have to see if it works, but I'll probably be moving my video production to my iPhone because this camera's complaining its battery is dead. Hi guys, right now it is the next day, as you can see, and our build is complete. Right now it's running, and we do have macOS Mojave 10.14.3 successfully installed, full acceleration, full audio, all that good stuff like that. So I'm running the i3-8100 again, as you probably know, and this processor and other Coffee Lake processors have issues with the graphics acceleration, mostly because if I tried to use the settings that they suggested in the main Gitbook guide that I will have posted below in the description, the screen after about 75% of the way through the boot decides to go black. And there's a very good guide on the Tony Mac 86 forum. Yeah, I know the vanilla Hackintoshers don't like Tony, but I don't care. It was a great guide. It doesn't matter. I was using the vanilla method this time. I didn't use beast tools. Honestly, I learned a lot through this experience, and I think it's pretty awesome that I managed to get this working. I didn't use any of the beast tools. I compiled all the kex myself. I got them on my flash drive, made my own installer, installed Clover myself, used Clover configurator. It was a great experience, honestly. If any of you guys have compatible hardware, I definitely recommend building a Hackintosh and seeing if it works. Particularly to anyone like myself who's interested in studying computer science, which I will be doing. It's pretty interesting to see like various aspects of how computer hardware and software work together. But I digress. So I used a tool called the Hackin tool, funny enough, which you can download off of Tony Mac 86. And that is the tool that I use to get my graphics acceleration working, which I think is pretty good. I used in that tool, in the toolbar, there's a place where you can go to find the pre-compiled or the pre-made motherboard configurations, or patches rather, and I did go in there in that toolbar, but there was no B360M or B360N rather Wi-Fi there. So instead I used the one from the ASRock B360N AC, I believe, which did work. It did get graphics acceleration at least working, but only one of the HDMI ports worked, which is fine because I did manage to tweak it, and I will be posting on the Tony Mac x86 forums with my results here. And I did have to use the handy-dandy script that the guy who wrote the Gitbook guide provided for fixing the pinkish purple tint, which is forcing the RGB mode, which did fix it, and it does work. So that's very good. So I will be posting on Reddit and on the Tony Mac x86 forums with my results. I'll leave my EFI there if anybody wants to find that. So that's what I'll be doing. So right here we have our lovely little Hackintosh. It's pretty small actually. It looks, I would say it's misleadingly large, but also rather deceptively small. So a few upgrades that I might plan for this. The first one being using or getting some fans for the rear. As you can see, there's only empty holes. There aren't any fans in there, because right now it is kind of like an airlock kind of design where we have a lot of air being pushed in this way, but the air that comes out the back is just coming out there via means of natural convection, not necessarily being pushed out, which is not always the best case scenario. And also upgrading the built-in cooler from the Intel stock cooler, as I did notice that the CPU is getting a little bit warmer than I would like it to be. I mean, my previous system that I had built on this channel with the Core i5-2500S and using the Thermaltake Gravity i2, I believe, did run a lot cooler. So I will definitely be trying that with this system if I can in the future, if the need arises. Otherwise, I do have audio working. The weird thing about it is, with my EFI, the green line out port here is detected as the internal speakers, but honestly, that's fine. I don't really mind. It works. It's paid for, I guess. So here it is. The Mojave Hackintosh build is done. I'm sorry I didn't really take you through the actual installation part all that much, but as you guys can understand, if you are fellow Hackintoshers like myself, it is really a process that requires a lot of time, a lot of patience. None of that can really be fully expressed on video, So it's better to just show the final result instead of having to muddle your way through it while an entire audience is watching. If you can understand, that'd be great. So as always, thank you guys for watching, and feel free to leave a comment if you have one.